This Snorlax looks clean, but one tiny flaw might ruin everything. Miss this, and you'll miss the grade. On this episode, we'll be looking at Snorlax 51, which is the 151 promo card. And for your entertainment, here are the timestamps. So let's move on to the first section on the card value and grading. And most importantly, we want to understand, is this Snorlax even worth grading in the first place? So we know this card raw is $14.69. That's awesome. On top of that, we need to add in the grading fees that come with it. So with TAGGrading, it costs $20 and $5 for shipping. I go through my local LGS, so it costs a little bit less than if you were to ship the card in yourself, and it's actually faster. But after we do that, when we think about whether we pulled the card or bought it, there's the difference right there, right? If you pulled the card, it essentially costs you nothing. But if you bought it, you paid for that card on top of the grading fees you're going to put into it. At a tag 10 or tag 9, that's going to be the difference on whether you actually make a profit or not. Now, if you pulled it, it's going to obviously be less overall fees for you. But if you get a tag 9 and you bought it, you're not going to be making any profit, unfortunately. Now into our favorite part, the centering piece, because this is mostly scientific. The only thing that can go wrong is human error. And in this case, what we're doing is if we don't scan it properly, it could be a couple % off. So when I put through the scanner and everything, I do have a 50 out of 50 top and bottom. On the left and right, it's about a 6% difference in the card. Really good shot, really good space for where we're at for a Gem Mint 10 if you're going PSA or tag. However, DegreeGrading does have a 0% standard there, so you have to get a perfect 50 out of 50 on all sides there. I think there's a very, very slight variation. I do like to keep in mind that my actual scans are probably 1 to 2% off, so it's possible this could still be a 50-50, because when I did the lining on the outside of the card on the front, it didn't match exactly because of how it was angled or whatever it might be. So I do have this as something that does not meet a degree 10, unfortunately, for the front centering. But let's go into the back and let's check that out as well. Now let's do the same thing and scan the back of the card. Again, we're going to take a consideration that we're probably 1 to 2% off because of the scanning. But when we look at the back of the card, we do fit inside that Gem Mint tolerance. It's not even a close call. PSA has a 50% tolerance, Tag has a 30% tolerance, and Degree has a 6% tolerance. And when we did this card, even if I take that 1 to 2% in consideration on what I actually got, it's less than that 6% tolerance, or it's right at that border. And then for PSA and Tag, this is a Gem Mint 10 easily. Like the back is really clean for centering, so there's nothing here for us to be concerned about. The only thing is that this card on the front looks like it actually might be a Gem Mint 10 50 out of 50 all the way through. It looks really clean, but when I did my scan, it didn't come out that exact ratio, so we'll see. Now to the surface of the card, which is probably the most difficult part to grade, honestly, and I think you also understand my pains here as well. I take an angled light and I flip it back and forth underneath it. I also have started incorporating a black light into my my actual review of the cards, and it really does help highlight a lot of that silvering or whitening if you have anything like that. Just calls it out really fast. As I'm flipping the card back and forth underneath that light, you should be able to see a majority of the issues with your naked eye. If you don't, it's probably not going to be a huge deficit on the actual score. But as I'm looking at the card underneath the angled light, I do see a few vertical print lines in the front and some horizontal underneath the angled light. It is kind of hard to see, but so I did take a magnifying glass and I showed it underneath there. You can kind of see that darker line. Those are just some print lines that are coming through. It also shows actually on the back as well as some light scuffing on the right hand side, but I think that's just roller marks, so they may not actually hold that too much against you since it's factory. It's a factory thing. Now, as we're looking at the back of the card on that blue border, we do see a small speck on there. Incredibly minor. It's probably not going to cause any kind of actual issue with the grading, but it is something worth calling out. Now I'll see if these corners and edges actually hold up. As I'm actually looking at this card, I look at it the same way I look at the surface of the card. I put it underneath an angled light and I slowly start rotating it around. Right now I'm looking specifically at the corners to see if there's any silvering, whitening, anything like that. And on the front of this card, I don't see anything, but on the back of it, we start to see a slight tear or an indent at the top right corner, which I'll show you here in just a second. But it's the only thing I really find out from the corners. So it's really good call. One minor thing on the corner is not going to have a deficit that's significant on your card. It doesn't necessarily make it a 9. It's more of like a combination of things could drop it down to a 9. So let's continue to work onto the edges now. Again, just like the corners and surface, we're going to take this underneath the angled light and start to look around it. And on the edges, on the front, I see some light silvering on the top edge, which is something I definitely want to call out, but it's very, very minor. It wasn't even significant enough, honestly, for me to even like get a closer look or take a picture of it. So it's probably not going to be that significant to the actual grade. On the back of the card, we did notice a light speck on the left side near the P. Again, it looks like in this case, after looking at a little bit closer underneath the magnifying glass, it doesn't look like a speck. It actually looks like a factory tear, like the cut wasn't clean. So for this, I'm going to say that the factory tear is most likely not going to have any like impact to the actual score, or it's going to be very, very minor. Now for the predicted grade, this is a really tough spot to be in because the card has so many great things happening here. The centering is almost not even off. It might be 50-50 all the way around. The back is square on, so no problems there. The card surface has some minor things there, but it really only has like the print lines. Like that's the only thing that's really honestly visible on the front and back, and some places don't really even hold that against you. So the only things really holding this back are factory-based issues, like the print lines, the factory cut. There's a couple other specs on here. This honestly could go for a 10. It's, in my opinion, I haven't actually got a 10 back yet, so I don't know. I think this probably falls into that 9 to 9.5 area. However, in our case, DegreeGrading doesn't go with the 9.5, but if I could pick that, I would. TAGGrading does, so this, depending on how this comes back, I'm probably going to submit to TAGGrading anyways and see what their actual 1,000 point score difference is, just to see what we have. So official score, 9.5. Now we got the card back from DegreeGrading many months later, and we can actually look at this together. And we expected a 9.5, and we got back a Gem Mint 10, which is absolutely insane because I was not really expecting a 10, but I'm very happy with it regardless. But I'm not the biggest fan of this like sticker at the top or the slab. So what I'm actually going to do is crack it out and resubmit it to TAGGrading and see what they say. Did you guess that grade right? Until next time, keep guessing that grade.